Hey everybody, it's Ping with Vital MX, and we've got a really cool project today. We're here at Glen Helen riding a 1985 CR500, which our buddy John here from Mullet Moto Racing put together. We'll let him we'll get into this whole story of where he got it and why it looks the way it does, but it's meant to look like the 1986 factory CR500 that David Bailey rode at the USGP at Carlsbad in '86. John, first of all, thanks for letting us ride this thing and do this video. I hope that we do it justice, because I know you got a whole lot of blood, sweat, and tears and cash into this thing. So tell us the story about where you got it and what brought this on.
Yeah, so I've been doing the vintage thing for quite a while, and I picked this thing up probably 10 years ago or something, kind of before anybody wanted anything to do with these old things. So I picked it up for $600 with a bunch of spare parts that I've used on other bikes. So it was like deal of the century kind of thing. And anyways, I swapped out the forks and put cartridge forks on it, because 85 still had the damper rods. Cleaned some stuff up and did the suspension, and then I raced it for a while. And it was just sort of sitting, and it's like, well, maybe I'll get to restoring it and make it really clean at some point, and wasn't sure. I thought about selling it. And then I had a bike on display at the Hopetown reunion a couple years ago, and David Bailey saw it, and, boom, that was like the inspiration right there. I was talking with him, and it's like, hey, man, I want to do one of your bikes. And he immediately was like, yeah, 86 CR500 from Carlsbad, and it's like, okay, boom. So that kind of set the stage for the build. It's an 85, not an 86, but 85 and 86 are really similar bikes. They got the big tank. They both have the short rod motor that was only a 2-year thing and whatever. So I ran with it because I wasn't going to go buy an 86 just for that purpose when I had this one. The big deal with the 86, factory bikes was that the production bike had a rear drum, and the factory race bikes, they'd done a rear disc conversion. And so I thought, dude, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it right. And so, you can see we did the whole swap out with the rear disc thing. I was kind of like, even if it doesn't friggin' work very good, it looks cool.
It's going to look bad.
You know what I mean? So, whatever. So, yeah, so the rear disc conversion was a big deal. The motor, I thought, obviously you can't build a real factory motor, but I call them poor man's works motors. So it's got a balanced crankshaft that was done by Tom Morgan. It's ported by Tom Morgan. It runs on race gas. He cut the head for race gas, and it sounds cool, and and obviously framed the whole thing, powder coated everything, and just small details. The silencer I got on eBay, it was all beat up. But it's an OEM silencer, which are really hard to find. So I had a dent shop push the dents out, and then I cleaned it up, sent it to get anodized. Same with the swing arm, got all the mods for the rear disc, and then I sanded down with a palm sander to get every single nick and scratch out, and then I send that out to get re-anodized. And so it's just those kind of details. It takes time and money, but it's a passion, and I love it. You know what I mean?
Well, and the look is phenomenal. David Bailey came out today. And just to watch and be a part of it a little bit and check it out. And he even said the sticker placement, the exact same stickers he had on his race bike, the gold bars, this crossbar pad, which is hilarious because this was when I started in 84, 85, this is what I was using. So a lot of this stuff brings back memories for me, and I just, you look at it, like David said, from 20 feet back, you'd be really hard pressed unless you were a factory Honda mechanic to know which was which. Yeah, so you did a great job.
For sure, yeah, thank you. Yeah, and a huge shout out to David Bailey, right? Because, if you're into building this stuff like I am, and this is the ultimate, right? I talked to him, I communicated with him, he sent me photos, I would find parts, and then I would send it to him, be like, hey man, is this the right stuff? And he would respond with all this cool information, so I wasn't actually going to plan to ever ride this thing, and then the opportunity came out to have David here and watch, and it's what a dream, right?
Yeah, and you got him to sign it here,
it's
and
amazing.
After today, it's going up on the wall. What was the toughest thing to find or get on this thing?
Well, the rear disc conversion thing wasn't necessarily finding parts so much as just getting the fab work done and coming up with the concept of how I was going to do it. The engine covers, because they're factory replica engine covers, those are pretty hard to find. I was able to find a guy in Italy that had a set. So that, that's the whole thing. Like you start doing these things in your eBay search button, you got to click worldwide, because the parts availability for this 80 stuff is starting to get bad everywhere. Yeah. And so it's like, yeah, you're getting parts from Germany and Italy and Great Britain and whatever. And, it's a lot of work, but, to me it's worth it, and I love it. It's fun.
Well, I can tell you that on the track, I was terrified to go out on this thing. 500s are a little bit sketchy in my experience, but when I got out on the track, this thing was surprisingly comfortable. And David even said that. He goes, it's actually really playful. He goes, you forget you're on a 500. It just feels like a fast 250. And that was true in a lot of ways. It didn't feel like this big heavy monster that was about to spit me off. It's tractable. It was a lot of fun. The tone of it is so low and throaty. I mean, you feel it almost like a dragster. The suspension is, for the era, it's pretty good. If you were on a beat up national track, it would be tough. And I told David, I'm blown away that they were riding these things at Carlsbad at the speeds they were. Knowing that track, that hard chop, and how fast you're going, I'm glad I was not around riding big bikes in that era. But lots of power, obviously. There's only a few spots here where I could really open it up and get on it. But my biggest thing was just how tractable it was. It didn't feel too much different than a 450. You come out of a turn in second or third, and you just modulate everything with the throttle, and it would hook up, and it was a lot of fun to ride. Great front brake. Now, I know you did a little trick on this guy. This is a 2000 era.
Yeah, I think 2000 or 01. Yeah.
Front brake system. So the front brake worked great. Rear brake, we had a little bubble, so we're kind of getting some fade here and there, but easy fix. But just the overall comfort of the bike, other than feeling a little fat towards the back, for a short guy like me, it would kind of, if I got kicked a little bit, it felt really wide. But man,
what did you think of that tank? Do that big tank in the front, no issues?
No issues. And when I looked at it, and David said the same thing, he goes, I know it looks like this big, massive, bulgy off-road tank. He goes, but you don't notice it when you're riding. And David was telling us stories. He used to go back in Lake Sugar Tree in Virginia, and he'd take this thing trail riding. He'd ride a supercross track on it. He just really rode this bike a lot, the 86 production model. And I can see why. It's really a lot of fun. I will say these foot pegs are gnarly. They're so skinny. In fact, when I mentioned it to David, I'm like, did you race with these? He goes, I extended mine about 10 mil, a little bit further out, and then he goes, I brought them back. He goes, and that just gave me more room because I had bigger feet to get the controls and stuff. But he nailed it when he said it's like standing on two chopsticks. But we wanted it to be authentic, and it is. Yeah. Just a super fun bike to ride, and to have one of my childhood heroes and the guy who I think is really a national treasure for our sport in terms of history and his ability to recall things and discuss things and talk about them. To have David sitting there on the sidelines watching, it's pretty damn cool.
It's unreal, dude. I sat right next to him the whole time, and it's dream come true. It's unreal.
One thing I want to throw out is, if you did not catch our video with David, it was a sit down in the museum here at Glen Helen, just talking about this bike, the 1986 race bike of his from factory Honda, the USGP that he raced, that bike, and that's what this is modeled after. Just a lot of chat about that stuff. So if you missed that, go back and watch. A lot of cool information there. Well, I want to thank John, and again, I really appreciate him letting us ride this thing. Thank you guys for watching. We got a lot more cool stuff coming. If you missed, we also did a CR125 of John's a couple months back. If you haven't seen that, go check that out too, because that was pretty cool. And we've got one more neat Steve Lamson project that hopefully we're going to get Steve out to. So keep an eye out for that as well. Thank you guys for watching. See you down the road.